In this lesson, we're going to show you how you can use ChatGPT to get your tasks done much faster. So let's go ahead and go to ChatGPT. So what I want to do is I want to be able to create an Excel VBA script. Now this Excel VBA script, what I want to do is I have a part number and with quantities. So I'm going to say, give me a part number with quantities in an Excel worksheet and another Excel worksheet that displays each part number on a separate line based on the quantity in a VBA script. Let's see what we get. So it says the step one in this worksheet, we will store part numbers and quantities. We'll assume the part numbers are column A and quantities are column B. Okay. We see an example, the part numbers, quantities. Step two is the output. The output worksheet will list the part numbers on separate lines, repeatedly based on the quantity. And here's our VBA script. So I'm going to go to Excel. Whoops, not this one. All right. So we are in Excel. I'm going to populate the quantities with the part numbers. And then I'm going to copy the VBA script from ChatGPT. All right, so I'm going to go to VBA, go to Developer tab, Visual Basic, go to Insert Module, and paste the VBA script from ChatGPT. Now this is going to generate the worksheet, the second worksheet, which will be the output. So let's run it. Oh, I've got to rename the sheets. So you got input and output. This is output. All right, let's go back to VBA and see if it runs. Part numbers have been generated in the output sheet. So part number 1 has a quantity of 5, part number 2, 3, part number 3 has 10, part number 4 has 2. So you can see part number 1 has 5, part number 2 has 3, part number 3 has 10, part number 4 has 2. And that's exactly what we want. Are there any questions? Okay, so now we're going to learn how we can use ChatGPT to learn how to build Power BI report builder expressions. So let me switch my screen. So I'm going to type in, give me 20 PowerPoint slides with a Power BI report builder tip on each slide with an example of each tip. Let's see what ChatGPT gives us. So we have all 20 slides generated for us with a Power BI report builder tip on each slide. So let's look at tip number 2, implement conditional formatting. So in Power BI report builder, you can use conditional formatting to display back different background colors based on a value in one of your columns in your report. So this is using an example for the sales value. So if the sales value is greater than 1,000, they're going to turn a column to red, and if it's less than 1,000, those rows are going to be green. So it just gives you all these slides already for you. Now let's look at how we can use Power or ChatGPT to learn Power Apps formulas. So go back to the top. I'm going to say, give me the top 10 most used Power Apps formulas. So we have the if function, which is the logic, conditional logic returns one value if the condition is true, other if it's false. The lookup function, which I use all the time. The collect function, clear collect. Patch, which is how to save a record in Power Apps. Navigate, allows you to navigate from different screens. We have the clear function, allows you to clear collection of control. The is blank, which I use all the time. It checks if a value is blank or empty. And the filter function in Power Apps allows you to filter a data source. You can also filter, a gallery. And the update context allows you to set a variable within one screen of your app. So it gives you the top 10 functions in Power Apps with an example of each function. Pretty cool, huh? Now let's look at how we can learn Power BI DAX measures. So I'm basically going to say the same thing. Give me the top 10 Power BI DAX measures that are used. So we have the sum function, which adds up all the values in a column. The average function calculates the average values in a column. We have count and count A. We have distinct count. We have calculate. We have if. We have filter. We have previous month, same period last year. And we have the divide function. And some additional measures are rank X, switch, date add. So these are all the common Power BI DAX measures that are used. Now let's see how we could create a flow in Power Automate. So I want a flow in Power Automate that will export a export data from a gallery in Power Apps. So it says to export data from a gallery in Power Apps using Power Automate, you will need to set up a flow in Power Automate that can be triggered by Power Apps to retrieve the data from the gallery. Below are the steps to achieve this. The prerequisites are you have to have a Power Apps with a gallery control. You have to have a Power Automate license. The Power App gallery is displaying data from a data source like SharePoint, SQL, or Dataverse. And here are the steps to create the flow. So we're going to use an instant cloud flow. We're going to get the data from either SharePoint, Dataverse, or SQL Server. We're going to create a get items action if we're using SharePoint, and you need to specify how you're going to add the logic. You're going to use a filter query, or you're going to send the data using a collection in Power Apps. So it gives you examples right here. So those are just a few examples of how you can use ChatGPT to speed up your work and a lot of tasks that you have.